Good evening. It's another Tuesday night, our date nights with Boitumelo. This is the coaching hour with Boitumelo Tlholakae. In this show, we build people that transform societies. We've got tonight one of the greatest coaches and very experienced coach. She is also involved in development of organizational cultures. She coaches people and is very passionate about human development, and she works with a lot of organizations. She works with people, individuals, and I can't wait to hear what she has to say. If you've just joined us, this is the coaching hour with Boitumelo Tlholakae. I have a very exciting, very experienced coach with me, and I am very happy and excited to introduce Mom Rejoice Ngobo. She's actually a doctor, Dr. Rejoice Ngobo, and I'm very excited and looking forward to our conversation. Mom Rejoice, I'm going to address you as Mom Rejoice. I hope this is fine. Please
Thank you.
Feel welcomed, and we are so excited to have you. Please introduce yourself shortly, and we will then talk about your coaching career.
Thank you, Boitumelo. As you have said, my name is Rejoice Ngongo. We share some similarities with Ngobo, but we are Ngongo.
My apologies.
No problem. I just don't want to embarrass the Ngobos in case I say something that's not quite complimentary, and not that I'm likely to speak in that way. I serve as, among other roles, a coach in practice that I truly enjoy and feel privileged to be part of. I can say more, but for now, that is who I am.
Okay, thank you very much, Mom. So I want us to talk about Mom Rejoice socially. Who is Mom Rejoice socially? And, we want to know you closer. We want to know you, a little bit better.
Well, I could say a lot of things. When you have lived 70 Boitumelo, you have a lot you can say. You asked me to speak about myself socially. I assume that means other than in professional ways.
Yes.
I enjoy reading. I enjoy very much reading. I enjoy water exercises. I enjoy more than anything growth of one form of or other. My growth as well as other people's growth. I enjoy it, actually value growth highly. I think of a hymn that goes like, "May I be like you, Lord," in English. I assume that hymn is not necessarily suggesting that we become God, but it suggests certainly that we grow as holistically as we can, I think. I love growth. I'm so passionate about it.
Definitely explains where you are right now. And what is Mom Rejoice known for socially? Do you engage in socially, maybe church and What you known for socially?
Well, I would give you a guess as a response. Obviously, having not interviewed people about what they know me for. But this morning, I was talking to one of my former doctoral students, and I met this guy as part of initially as part of a coursework, thesis, master's. And the trust between me and this class was just unbelievable. It was before 1994, and this group on more than one occasion entrusted me with their lives when they agreed for us to travel, one from KwaZulu-Natal to Stellenbosch to a postgraduate workshop, and another time to 2 conferences in different parts of the country. I mean, these were people more or less of my age, maybe I'm 5-10 years, or I was 5-10 years ahead of them. But they entrusted me with self-development in research skills. And when I reflected and actually asked them, why do you trust me so much? They could see the passion and the belief I have in their growth. So I guess it's that passion that I may be known of. And sometimes it does tend to a bit of a positional thing. I remember when I was in my older life as an academic, when students got assignments and they would see others getting 70s and others getting 20s. The 20s or 30s would come to me a little bit agitated. How did you give this mark? And I would say, well, I'm happy to explain, but come to me too when you get 80 or 70 and ask me to explain. That could be construed as being a little bit aggressive, shall I say? But that's not ever the intention. The intention is to really hold a balance between boundaries and guidance, all arising from passion for growth.
Wow. Ma, I can understand why the young ones would want to be around you. I can feel already that there is a lot of wisdom, and I cannot wait for us to unpack that. I'm going to ask now for us to talk about you still, and what motivates you, what helps you to be in the right mindset on a daily, on a monthly. How do you make sure that your mindset is in the right place, is positive, and you maintaining a positive mindset all the time? Some people say, I have a routine. I pray at a certain time, I meditate at a certain time, I run, I go to gym, or any other things that are kind of a routine for you to keep to make sure and maintain a positive mindset.
Yes, I wouldn't call it routine, but I would say a series of practices that I really have been blessed to learn. They work for me, and I assume they could work for others too, or could be working for others. One of which is regular reflection. And as I reflect on life, I would say on a daily basis, to various depths. It's not always at a deepest level that I can go to. But from time to time, reflection, self-monitoring, I get to be present to the minute or to the hour I'm in. And that often provides me some clarity that just I need to see the beauty in the day, the opportunities, or even the times when I sort of work counter to what I want the day to be about. So I can learn from myself through practices that just start with reflection, a series of practices. Prayer is one. I'm not using practice with reference to prayer glibly. I simply want to say that it is a form of practice for me. And by prayer, I don't only mean prayer as in a typically religious sense. Prayer isn't just talking, expressing my intentions sometimes, and do sometimes follow the formal religion-based type of prayer. But many a time it's other practices that for me speak to my spirituality. So that's the main thing, all those practices that are there are quite a few of them.
Okay. I am quite curious though to probe, but it's okay. We'll leave it at that for now. And then if this question is okay with you, if you can just share your educational background with us, just so that we kind of know you and understand, you know, where your interests are and, you know, where your focus is, so that we can just follow in terms of, you know, the conversation that we are going to have. Where did it all start for you, and your education background?
Well, I grew up in a place that is very dear to me, called Pomeroy, in a district called Msinga, with my grandparents. There was something very funny in this area. There was a rural road from the little town to my grandparents' place. There was a road that was a dirt road. And each time the road got eroded, people wouldn't fix it. They would start another alongside it. And each time that new one got eroded, they would do the same. And I looked at this each time, more or less, I went to town and thought, there must be something that needs to be done to deal with this road issue. And I thought, maybe when I grow up and study, I will do this social work thing that I hardly knew much about, except that I had been told that social workers solve problems. And maybe I can solve this road, the problem of this road. You know, youth thinking, you think you can take on the world within a minute.
Yes.
Anyway, fast forward to a time that my grandparents, who whilst they were truly illiterate, but knew a bit about education and the value of it in ways that benefited me hugely. So my grandparents, supported by my mom, took me to a boarding school that was exceptionally good in Newcastle called St. Louis, where the nuns were just amazing as teachers. But lo and behold, during our third year, I was doing maybe what's now is called end of grade 10. There was an announcement that the school would be closed at the end of that year because it was in a wrong place because of Group Areas Act. So the school was closed, and suddenly we didn't have a school. So after some search, I eventually got another school that I wasn't so happy with, because whilst the nuns were so good, but unfortunately they were not qualified as teachers. But it was in that environment that I grew my love for teaching, because we had to teach each other, the few matric students, just to get a pass. Only 2 of us passed at the end of that year, matric. But from there, I realized that I love growth. I really do. I remember one day when the poor nun was trying to teach us, and she didn't know, I think on reflection, she didn't quite know the content. So she asked my classmate a question, and she said something not quite correct. And she said, "Rejoice." And I said, "I'm going to, my answer is the same, sister, as Patricia." So she got quite angry. And then she says to me, "What are you going to do when you grow up? You may not pass even this matric." And I said, no, I didn't know what I was saying, but I said, "Well, I think I will just maybe read books." And she thought that was the silliest answer to give. Actually, I was threatened with expulsion. But that is history now, as life would have it in its faithfulness. We got somebody to help us, just a volunteer, the last 3 months of our year as matriculants, who helped us a little bit with English literature. So at least that helped for some of us to pass. But to answer your question, I think that was a very important time of my life. I didn't get the lessons then, but each time I reflect on those times, I can see that they planted in them the seeds for my destiny.
Absolutely. Isn't it that our destiny, the seed for the destiny is always, found in those difficulties that we find ourselves in, and stretches us actually, to want more, or to want to be more, or to want to be something.
Indeed.
Yes, I am glad that you experienced that, and I enjoy the stories as I spoke to you as well. Over the weekend or so, trying to understand, where you come from. I utterly enjoyed those humble beginnings, and I think many of us can identify, although not to the exact. Experiences like you, but with experiences with teachers, where the teachers would actually give you that negativity, that you would actually have to pick yourself up and prove to yourself that you are actually not as worse as you have been told. In
Yeah.
most cases, we have experienced a similar thing. Thanks for that background, Ma. It was quite interesting. I want to know now about where you are now, how you got to where you are now, still on the education side, if I may just dwell a bit on the educational side.
Well, academically, as in education, maybe, or
Yes.
formal education, as I've said, I believe I've been blessed with huge opportunities. When I first went to university, I only did 2 years of a teaching diploma for various reasons, including just difficult economic circumstances. And so I wanted to get out and help my grandparents. But also I did continue with my social work. I did tell myself that, well, UNIS at that time, in my view, was a good university. And I did tell myself that I'm young, I can still do 3 years if I focus instead of 4 years. And I did that, and realized I really didn't want to work as a social worker. Teaching is my thing. It helps me facilitate growth, mine and others, in my view, quicker than at that time for me than social work or any other profession. So I did that. and was again fortunate to have different experiences of teaching in administration, in education. For instance, on 2 occasions, I was heading up high schools here in KwaZulu-Natal, and later teaching teachers and teaching adults as an academic at the University of Zululand, and also as external examiner in other universities, especially for master's and doctoral students. But 16 years into academia, I was ready to do something else, and I was going to apply for a post in another country when I was invited to Mandela Rhodes Foundation as founding scholarship manager. I enjoyed that job again, in spite of the fact that I'd never managed a scholarship. I was working with extraordinarily gifted students who were doing their masters and their honors degrees, gifted not only academically, but also gifted and experienced in the areas of leadership, quite experienced quite extensively. And it was another opportunity for facilitating growth, not necessarily facilitating growth academically, but growth as leaders. There's endless there are endless opportunities where you can read about these scholars and what they are up to now. The scholarship was established in 2005. And I was working under, as my boss, a CEO who was incredibly gifted as a writer, Mr. Sean Johnson. He is late now, sadly. So I would develop ideas such as principles, and he would capture them with his writing and editing skills. And that collaboration, I think, enabled us to make some contribution in that scholarship beyond funding. But also, as part of that scholarship, we developed a coaching approach and practice, which enabled each scholar to have a coach, no matter where he or she was in the 23 universities in the country. So I do mention that not because it has Mandela's name to it. I don't think I would do that, because it was an opportunity for me that bordered on sacredness, to work with young people who were bringing such fullness into of themselves to the moment or to the opportunity as scholars, and with that also facilitating cross-sectional learning among all of us, staff, them, their peers. It really was an extraordinary time, my time at this foundation, as was my time subsequently when I was human resources manager for Alan Gray Orbis. The capacity of the staff in that foundation, at least during my time, was just a breathtaking opportunity to be part of, in terms of growth, in terms of making meaningful contributions to everyone, not only students, staff, myself, etc. I think I need to pause and give you another opportunity for questions.
No, it's fine, but we actually enjoying listening to that journey. Now, if you don't mind, we can just cross over to your coaching career. We'll come back to the other questions, but if we can just talk about now your coaching career. You had already mentioned it, that it also started at the Nelson Mandela Foundation there, where you were working with students, and you gave the students the opportunity to enjoy coaching. But I want to know more now about that coaching career, and if
Yes.
you're still doing it to date.
Yeah. Well, my interest as coach didn't only start at the Mandela Rhodes Foundation. During those years in Old Pomeroy, as you can guess, there were the so-called apartheid years. At my grandparents' place, they used to host other students because they were in next to a school that was in a mission, what was called a mission, a school established by missionaries, and education was slightly better. I think that's how they saw it, the communities around. So they would ask for the relatives would ask if their children could stay at my grandparents so that they would be near this school. And one of the experiences that really opened me to my interest in reading was staying with one of those students who was a relative of my grandparents. He would read a book such as Cry the Beloved Country, which at the time were not, I believe, were not quite approved as reading material for us Blacks. So I guess it was the question of liking stolen apples or something that's stolen. So I got to think, well, if somebody can read behind the cover, that must be an interesting exercise. But in the process, this relative, his name was Ban, would be coaching me, and I would not know whether it was my subject content or things that would grow me much quicker because of his coaching, of what I think was his coaching. And of course, when we were at this second school after St. Louis closed, in teaching others and helping their potential to emerge and their ability in mastery of content to be mastered. In a way, that was coaching. But also, later in my life, especially during the time I was doing my master's and later my doctoral studies, I was privileged to be led by a professor who is now late. I don't think he had done any coaching at university, I doubt. But in my experience of people, he is the most impactful type of person, the way he taught. And in other words, coached. He wasn't just teaching, this is A, this is B. I understand coaching to mean facilitating someone to have his potential in relation to a goal or purpose emerging, and to align can be self-directive, can be self-correcting, etc. So that's how in general, my interest in coaching, as different from teaching or even mentoring, was seeded. And of course, later, I did some training, certificate training as a coach, and really got more interested in it. And by the time we developed a coaching framework for Mandela Rhodes, I was formally a qualified coach. And I've pursued opportunities to coach beyond my time of doing structured work. Right now, with a friend, we established a company called Inspirational Development Group South Africa. One of our offerings is a coaching, integral type of coaching. We've worked with clients in different parts of the country. I won't mention them by names, but some hospitals, some managers at middle and senior level, some students who are doing management programs in postgraduate institutions, some corporates such as two medical scheme-based corporates and others. So we've done coaching directly. When I say directly, I mean myself or this work partner of mine coaching, or contracting experienced coaches, like one of the coaches we used, who is well known and has been in the top 50 coaches and leaders in the whole world. Mongezi Makalima, he has a coaching school actually in Pretoria. He's one of our associates, but also others. We have about 12 associates. My role primarily is a director and chair in this company, but we do have coaching clients. On Friday, for instance, I was coaching 6 people from one university. They are taking a middle management program in this university, and they are managers in their companies. And I know I'm doing what I think I was meant to do when my heart dances the day I'm going to do it. Friday was like that.
Tell us about what do you impart to your clients, your coaches. How do you move somebody that is going to be like your Friday event, move somebody that, has been at another level now, they are arising to a bigger role, a bigger level in their lives? How do you help them then to move with confidence, coach them to a point where they believe also that they can actually do it? I'm sure that is the reason why you would coach in an organization, unless there's any other reason why you actually did the coaching on Friday with these clients.
Mm-hmm. Well, coaching can be both developmental and harnessing of what is already going well, moving from the so-called good to great, for example. It need not be a remedial thing all the time.
Mm. Okay.
In fact, it can work much more quicker and more effectively if you focus on the on facilitating or helping people to move from good to great or better to good. But I won't talk about the theories or the formal techniques that we learn at various institutions that offer coaching. I will talk about coaching from a personal experience and from in maybe even personal beliefs. I believe that in essence, there is resident in each person a potential.
Mm.
Of course, we do need to establish coachability of each person. And coachability simply means, is the person receptive? Can he be open to it? Because like any learning, no matter how good the coach is, unless the person is ready for it and open to it, it's not likely to work. So your question is, what do you do?
Yes.
For me, I cannot speak about the process in a linear way. I can merely share what I do and however it comes from my mouth. Some of the things that for me are really critical when you coach someone is to establish what they want their lives to be about. If they are coached within a role, what do they want their role to be about? In other words, to have a little sense of who the person is and what his or her purpose is. And of course, within that context, people are coached to achieve particular goals of their choice. So, whilst one may use various practices, techniques, tools to facilitate them to achieve those goals and those purposes, but the driver is the coachee, is the person who is coached. All that I'm doing is to walk behind this person, walk alongside this person, sometimes place a mirror in front of him or her. You know, I'm hearing you saying this. I'm seeing you doing that. In the context of where you say you want your life to go, how does this match? So you invite a person to reflect on the disjuncture. And if you have something to offer, you offer it within a facilitative context. What do you think could help you? What do you need to do? And if there is a challenge, say we want to challenge a person to be in the present, and the person is thinking, oh, this is what will happen, this is what will not happen. So tell me, what do you know right now? No, we are not going to say, I'm now going to teach you to look only at the now, because that's what is the known. You facilitate a person to look at the now, so that if he is clear on the now, he can then discern what he could contribute to bringing, and what is it that he wants to influence or can influence. Sometimes when we are in difficult situations, we tend to think like, we tend to think as follows: well, I want this, I want that, if only they could do this, and lose our, not only our responsibility, but lose seeing our opportunity to influence things. Coaching is about enabling, helping people to be enablers, to enable themselves to bring about the changes with support, yes, that they need, that are aligned to their purposes, assuming they have positive purposes. And if they don't, the role of the coach is to facilitate them to steer that direction or to drop them.
Do you have a particular real life situation, a person that you've experienced and you've seen them, you know, grow from a certain position to, you know, greater heights, that maybe you can share with us, even if without mentioning names of people, but a situation where you actually saw coaching change somebody's life? And how did it happen?
I'm just thinking of various examples, and I'm thinking of maybe one. Let's take one of these. Long time ago, these students that I said were doing their research work in their masters with me, and this was in the 90s. So the new dispensation and familiarity with opportunities that are there for one to capacitate oneself as a researcher were not as mainstreamed as now. So I remember this one student who probably wrote his proposal maybe 5 or 6 times.
Oh dear.
And I couldn't accept it for faculty board or let alone beyond, because it just wouldn't fly. And I realized that what was needed was not just to write the comments, on his submission. What would be helpful is to invite him to face-to-face interactions where I would coach him on proposal writing and really do that as a process. I'm happy to say that this student is one of those who went further and through another university did her PhD. Unfortunately, she developed a terrible disease about 7 years later, and died.
Oh.
But she's one example of somebody who really transformed her situation into that kind of a positive situation just by being coachable. Obviously, she did have potential as well.
Yes, and the readiness as well.
Yeah, and the resilience.
Yes.
Mm.
Wonderful, wonderful, Ma. I want to know how do you then, in your own capacity, carry on your love and passion of development and your experience of coaching in society, say where you live. Do you do that in society, or you do only formally and as constructive as in organizations and formal sessions? Do you ever carry it out into a society, and how would you do that? So this takes us to that
Yeah.
role, your role in society. Does that also include and involve coaching?
Well, in terms of what you refer to as society, I think that excludes the companies or organizations with which you work. Before COVID and during COVID, I have been working with a project next to one of the townships called Guamash, which is not far from me. We haven't found our feet yet, or I haven't found my feet completely yet, but this project, they are helping children in this seriously impoverished community with study skills. So they had asked me to do some study skills with them. The difficulty is that there are different groups because there are different classes. But that is one area. What I've decided to do is not to coach all of them, all the classes together. From next year onwards, I would like to work with them at least according to phases, like grade 11 and 12, put them together, of even 10 to 12, and sometimes put grade 12 separately. I'm not sure whether I'm keen to take all grades, but I was just talking to the woman who is directing this project. I would rather a pilot coaching in terms of studying skills, pilot with older students and see how it goes and see what lessons we can get to work with the younger ones. So that's the main area. But in the church, I was going to before COVID, that I'm still part of, just that during COVID, I've not been going to any church. I offered to work with youth. My concept at the time was that would have intergenerational projects where youth mentor and teach us all this. They have so much to offer. They could teach us about technology, etc., etc. And we would offer them something. But what we did those 2 years was not quite that. It was more of offering them study skills, arranging for talks, and occasional coaching, especially to those that had acquired some qualifications and were wanted to be ready for interviews, etc., just to be ready to access job opportunities. So I did a bit of coaching there.
That is wonderful. That is great. Intergenerational knowledge sharing. That is an amazing project right there, because there's so much to learn from each other. The young ones also need some coaching, some direction, in terms of how to approach life and how to approach certain concepts. I mean, everyone is excited about going to university, but what do you do after university is not always cut and clear. When everybody knows, what is coming. Everyone is looking for, forward to that day when they graduate from university. But I think it's a good project that you are doing, Maya, and I wish you well in that area. I'm now wanting.
Well, you must now have a coaching program for senior citizens.
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind. I love listening as much as I love talking. So that wouldn't be a problem at all. I'm sure there's a lot that we can share between us, and the knowledge, the wisdom that comes with your group. It would be quite exciting actually to learn from you. I'm a young coach myself, young in coaching. It's something that I love, and I'm quite passionate about. I think I have been doing it even long before I even knew that it was called coaching, as I engaged with kids in the community, in the church. We are also talking about life, talking about how to approach life and careers. Those are things that I love to talk about with the young ones. As we go towards closure, I want us to talk about, how things have been, and how you and in also business have coped during the COVID pandemic, and did things work out during the COVID? And I'm just thinking about other business people, other coaches, community members, society that can learn from your experience from the COVID lockdown. How did your business succeed or even survive the lockdown? And if you have a message that you would like to share in motivating small businesses, coaching, and everyone, in what to look forward to post the pandemic, or even as we go through hopefully the last stages of the lockdowns.
Well, I'm hoping that it will be the last stages.
Me too.
We haven't got indications to that effect yet.
Yes.
Well, we took a decision to steer the ship a little bit differently. A month into COVID, or even during the prior to COVID, with the economic slowed down, we began to see how we could re-steer the ship. And that meant exploring, making our contributions, offering the products, the consultancy online as well. That was a
That's
huge
great.
step change. But we've just completed with a big mobile client, we've just completed a feedback session with them at the beginning of COVID, maybe about April. We ran a feedback session to a client to whom we had offered some consultancy. I think it was beginning of March. So we realized, well, we can have about 30 to 40 people in a room, or from 20 or 10 to that figure, 20, 30 or so. And that is one main step change we made. We're not all the way through that, but we're either re-engineering our offerings so that they can be run online, but also keeping those that we can run face-to-face if or when this difficult phase passes. But also because we needed to be a little bit lean in terms of staffing. We needed to see how we can get the skills we need to continue if we let other people go. Something that was difficult. And how do we support them the best way we can? Maybe to be positioned to get some income. So we did a variety of things to support them, but also for ourselves, look at other offices of the same company that we established in South Africa to see how we could exchange skills when the cash was low for us to pay. For instance, one of our project managers is in India, and in preparing for the clients or working with the clients that we are working with, she's doing all the project management whilst in India, thanks to
Wow.
Zoom,
Yes.
Teams, etc.
Technology.
We're running sessions that go to 4.5, 5 hours online. It's not what we want all the time, but sometimes we face situations, all of us human beings, which we can't change. We just need to decide how do we prepare for what is given so that we can work through it. So
That
those
is
are some of the ways we are dealing with the current virus. We're looking at different partners. For instance, we'll be running a webinar with a company whose CEO we've met only online, but we've planned this webinar. We're just this week, we're finalizing the content and we'll be recording it. And guess we'll have the recorded webinar.
wow. I like that element of innovation, and I mean, some people would have said and say, "Hey, it's difficult. We cannot see people. We cannot teach people during this lockdown." But even with the new innovation of technology innovations, your company still innovated and was able to survive. That calls for swift strategy change and innovation there and there. I'm glad that I think our listeners will also appreciate that element of innovation and the changes and the quick, the timers change that you took to implement and to save the company, to small businesses, to like coaching, always done at a small scale, to organizations. What would be your message, in terms of motivating small organizations, SMMEs, coaching academies, small ones, and organizations that are big, that because you work with different a spectrum of clients that you have in your company, a motivation to them while we are still going through the lockdown during the pandemic. What would you say to motivate small businesses, to motivate bigger businesses, organizations, and to motivate individuals?
Well, first, I would like everyone listening to know that my heart goes out to all of us for the challenges we're facing. So my empathy first. But secondly, there is a belief during these times that so-called soft skills, like skills you get when you are coached, can wait. It's a luxury. The advice I would give would be, we create anything twice. We first need to create it in ourselves through having certain abilities, certain mindsets that created good performance. I need to have it constructed in my mind first and in my heart. So much the better if it's mind and heart. By offering your people opportunities for being coached, you are sharpening the tool to create that which is going to help you create for the second time. The first time is where anything needs to be created. You can't create outside what you have not created inside. And coaching serves to enable people to do just that. You are looking for profits. You are looking for an upswing in the financial performance of your company. You need your staff to be facilitators, creators of that. How do they do it? They need first to have done it in themselves through applying certain abilities that need to be sharpened through a particular mindset or particular mindsets that are different from the mindset triggered by COVID and similar problems. Now, when they go into, well, we must make this company profitable, and they are in the mindset that creates problems like COVID, they are not going to be able to help you bring about profitability. Remember the importance of mindset, especially as captured by old Einstein. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. You help people through coaching to shift their mindset, to see beyond the limitations that COVID is presenting. I'm merely making COVID as an example. There are other problems that we are facing. So that their mindset is not a problem on top of the external problem. Their mindset is a facilitative vehicle to change whatever external realities that are problematic, and to work through and create whatever the company or organization wants to, and then.
Very true, Ma, very true. Even the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. People will speak confidently once they know and they have knowledge, in abundance. So I totally agree with your statement to say that when people have been trained, when people's mindset have been trained to think positively, people can accomplish anything, and people can, reach higher levels of profitability for the organization for as long as they have been given the information and, through coaching, the confidence to carry out the mandate, the strategy of the organization. Ma, I want to thank you so much.
The confidence and the abilities, actually.
Yes, the ability, because they know they are capable, but, people need to be reminded that, you are capable, you can achieve it. And here is the knowledge. This is where we're going, to be given direction as well.
So invest in people, I would say, Boitumelo.
Yes.
Invest in people through coaching, regardless, mindful but of the COVID imposed limitations, but regardless as well.
Yes, not putting limits on people. Thank you very much, Ma. That is quite motivational, and I hope that our listeners have learned a lot from you. Before before we end this, I just want you to share your contacts. How do people reach you if people want to, expand on what we spoke about? How do people reach you? How do people know about your company? Is there a website? How do people follow you?
Yes, there is a website, Inspirational Development Group South Africa. We can be reached too via my email, rejoice.ngongo@inspirationaldg.com.
Okay. Is that
and any other detail I will forward to you.
Okay. We will definitely post them on our Facebook page. Thank you very much, Ma'am Rejoice, Dr. Rejoice Ngongo, professionally. And thank you so much for your motivation. Thank you so much for sharing information. We will also learn about your company, Inspirational Development Group. I am quite interested in it. I will definitely go to the website and check for myself. And I encourage everyone that is listening, to do the same and, pursue personal development, to the levels that, one is confident, one is self-aware and self-conscious. I'm also one person that loves development. So I was quite excited actually when I learned about your company, when I learned about you and your coaching. I just wanted to talk to you, and I just wanted to bring you to Zoe Live Radio so that you can share with us, so that you can teach us and we can learn from you. Thank you so much. And I wish
Thank you and your listeners.
Thank you, Ma. I wish you well with your company, and I wish you well personally. May God bless you with good health, joy, and peace until we engage again. Thank you so much for honoring our invite to come and speak to our listeners.
Thanks, Boitumelo. Bye.
Thank you.
Zoe Live Radio. www.zoeliveradio.co.za